You were listening to episode 294 of the Game Deflators Podcast. My name's John, and I'm joined by Ryan.
Hey, everybody, here at the Game Deflators Podcast, we like to talk about games we've recently picked up, games we're currently playing, and wealth, fame, power. We find everything we're looking for in this week's Inflation Deflation Challenge.
So this week we played a little bit of Shonen Jump's One Piece Grand Battle on the Nintendo GameCube. Well, I did. You played it on a preservation device, a modern day preservation
device. I played it on an Xbox like God intended, an Xbox Series S.
Yes, exactly. So we're not going to go into Ryan's preservation tactics, but that is what Ryan played it. Yeah, okay, we can go into a little bit on your recent pickups, maybe.
But first,
But first, go ahead. Tell us what they're going to listen to today.
Yeah, the rest of this episode, we're going to take a look at D&D, both some changes to the rules coming soon, and a whole new aspect of the game, ongoing monetization. And then Nintendo is looking at all of your inappropriate artwork, and at the same time, bidding farewell to the Wii U as they drive in the last nail. So that's what we're going to be talking about today.
Wouldn't it be they drive in the last screw?
Nail in the coffin, John. Nail in the coffin. You can't put screws in a coffin. How are the zombies going to get out?
But you can't put nails in a Wii U, otherwise it's going to break.
They've already done it, John. There's no going back from here.
We're at a crossroads, Ryan. We might have to just redo the whole intro. All right, let's move into our social media plugs. So you can find us on the GameDeflators.com, our out-of-date website. You can also find us on Facebook, Instagram, and Threads at The Game Deflators. We're also on X at Game Deflators, and we're on YouTube. Search us up there. We got playthroughs. We have podcast episodes that you're listening to right now, but maybe you want to listen to it again. Unboxing, shorts, all that good stuff. So go check it out.
And I've got one short playthrough on there, and now he's working on a medium playthrough.
I see what you did there. We'll get into that in a second here. You're also listening to us on a podcast application. Keep up the good work. Go listen to us on other podcast apps, like, subscribe, leave a comment, whatever it may be. We appreciate it. Good stuff. All right, pickups. So while I took some time at Crit HitCon yesterday, we're recording on a Sunday. It's still going on as of right now, but when people hear this episode, it won't be. It'll be finished. It'll be in the past, and they will be looking towards the future to attend that event. I picked up a game at the event. Not picked it up at the event, actually. I physically grabbed it and took it to a back room where they had all these tables set up for playing, called Abduction was the name of the game. And the overall premise of this game is you have these pools of 10 pools, and you have little tiny, you'd love it, Ryan, you have little tiny resin ducks of different colors. And the objective is you have an action hand of 3 cards that tell you different things, like move one duck from one corner to another, take a duck from your opponent's board, remove all ducks of X color, because you have like 4 colors right off the bat. Basically manipulate the different pawns, move them forward, a whole bunch of manipulation that includes manipulating your own pawns as well as those of the ones that you're playing with. So those are your actions. And then you have these patterns or formations that you have to match. So you might have, like, let's just say 4 ducks, and it'll say like 2 white, 2 yellow, or it'll say like 2 of the same color, 2 of a different color. And so that's the overall objectives. You got to try and create those formations of the ducks that are in your pool, while trying to also manage other people doing actions that can manipulate your pool, taking your own actions to manipulate your own pool, and trying to create these formations. So each formation, depending on the difficulty, has a point base, and an X amount of points lead to victory. So you set that in advance. You might say, okay, we're going to go to 50 points. And then based on those formations, you, as a group, collect those formations as you play the game, and you build up your points. So pretty fun game. It's like 12 and up. So nice for, younger family. And overall, the difficulty in terms of learning it, we literally had never heard of this game. We threw it on a table, opened up the rule book. It's like 6 pages, breezed through it. We're like, okay, that makes total sense. This is a setup. This is how the game works. Cool. Went through one round and we were off to playing, like right off the bat. So really nice, quick, easy to learn game. So I picked it up. It was $50 for both the regular and expansion version of it. So picked up that combination for 50 on Amazon. Totally worth it. Really high quality build of a game. Very good cardboard, nice resin ducks. Like the silicone UFO that comes with it to abduct the ducks is pretty cool as well, and nicely built. So highly recommend that one. We're going to be playing it this week at some point.
Nice.
The other thing that I got, so while I was at the events, I went up to Silver Key Lounge had a table and they were doing giveaways. I was like, okay. So I walk up and I see a set for a D100, your D10 and your percentile dice. It's like, okay, well, what do I do? And he's like, well, you roll, and if you have a higher number than what's, on the table, you get that item. And he had his price sticker. So if it was $49 and you rolled a 50, you get a $50 item or $49 item.
What?
And so, yeah, I no money, no nothing. They were just doing a giveaway. And I mean, it's cool because we've been to Silver Key Lounge, we've
a bunch of
enjoyed
times.
drinks, and yeah, so it's like, being patrons of that location anyways. And we bought stuff from there, from their little game shop that they have. But they had the Lord of the Rings RPG core rulebook, and I rolled and I got higher than was indicated on the price point of $49.95, I think. And I got the Lord of the Rings core rulebook for the RPG. So pretty cool piece from Free League. And I was excited about that. That's one that I've had my eye on for some time. And now I don't have to buy the core rulebook. I can just, dive into some of the adventures and check those out.
Oh.
So, yeah. So it was pretty cool for the pickups. Did not have any video game pickups this week. I have had my eye on a few things, but, nothing's really kind of stuck out as like, I need to have that right now. So
July's kind of a slow month.
Yeah. Yeah, I would say it might be. It's too hot, dude. Like, can't go out anywhere. No exploring. Like, I don't even go to GameStop because, like, I don't want to get in my car when it's 120 degrees in my damn car.
Some crazy sale they were doing, didn't you?
Yeah, I did send you. It was like a buy two get one free or something. No
games.
It was like, yeah, I think it was 50% off of new games or something. But half the time, the point of going to GameStop is I like exploring in the store and finding things that like I just wouldn't have thought of, right? Like your random covers that are of some title that you've never heard of, and you look it up and you're like, oh wow, it's got like 8 out of 10. Let me pick that up because it's $10 type of thing. Going on a website to me is just not as fun, So I do like to go in store, but I don't like to jump in a car with a toddler when it's 100 something degrees outside and getting him all set up, and it's just not a fun time. So
no, it's not.
Yeah, but playing wise, we started playing the Medium on PS5, and I started recording that content. So you can go check out how bad we are at the Medium on YouTube.
That's the thing. Like, I'm always thinking about, like, if I would put my gameplay up, people would not watch it. People would be like, this is the third time he's been in this room. It's right there. What is he doing?
So that actually happened to me in one puzzle, but I looked online. I'm like, what the hell am I missing? I'm like, I got to check this out. So I go online, and apparently like IGN is where I found the walkthrough. Like, yeah, like several of our people were stumped on this puzzle as well and could not figure it out. And I was like, there's like easily something I'm missing. Well, what it turns out is the room that I was in, it's on the second recording. The room that we were in, we did like this outer body experience as a medium and walked into like this bathtub, or like a bloody bathtub, where we found a razor blade. And I didn't realize that, like, oh, I need to use a razor blade to cut this random fold of skin that's blocking a doorway in this other part of the world, break that, and then the character can run and get another item that equals this
just
item
like
instead.
Like adventure-y stuff.
No, it's actually
like
very
much to be like a puzzle that's like, oh, I missed this thing 20 minutes ago.
No, it's very much like Silent Hill, actually, which I'm really liking. So it's a horror-based game. You kick off in a morgue, actually, or not a morgue. It's I guess, is it a morgue? No, it's a funeral home where they prepare the body and they have all that stuff. So you're starting in a funeral home, and you get a call from somebody saying, oh, I need your help. I know who you are. You need to come to, I think it's Niwa, which is this hotel that's apparently abandoned. You get out there and like strange shit starts happening to your character. Don't ask my name. I always forget the names of characters. But as the main character,
large amount of strange stuff.
I don't remember what I said. See, I don't even remember character names and what I said 2 seconds ago. There's a lot of strange stuff that's happening like within this particular location as you arrive. So you hear like laughter from a little girl, like a ball rolls out of nowhere, like your typical horror movie type stuff.
It's supposed to be like ghosts or something.
Yeah, pretty much. And so, well, actually, yeah, as a medium, there are ghosts tied in. So the cool thing about this game, if you've seen the previews, is it literally is a vertical a vertical screen split where you're playing in like the real world where you're at as like your main character, and then she has like these headaches that create this alternate view that you also get to see. So what you end up, which I kind of don't like at the same time, because I kind of wish it was just like I was in that world to begin with. But I get it from a mechanic standpoint where the puzzle component comes in, because you're having to control things that are going on in this real world, and you have to control things that are going on like this afterlife hellish type world where everything's like broken down and rusted and just like it's that
Silent Hill.
classic kind of, it's kind of like that classic Xbox look, right? Like everything's brown in the game. Yeah, it's like that. So you're playing as her in that part of the world, but at the same time you see ghosts in that part of the world too. So that's pretty cool, because you get to interact with like the characters that are in that place, and you're trying to figure out like what happened to individuals that died, like what was the cause for all of this mayhem that happened. Well, spoiler alert for, if you know, unless you're going to play it, but a spoiler alert is that you go into a room, and apparently this is where it got creepy as shit. You go into a room and you're like trying to figure out like a photograph, like what's happening in this area. Like you find photo paper in this like red, is it a black room or red room? I don't know what the hell it's called for photo rooms. Dark room. There you go. I never prepared photography. So you go into a dark room and you get the photo, and when you look at it, it's actually a picture of yourself. And then the projector that's in the room just starts blinking like crazy. Now, the one thing I saw before all that happened was a pentagram in the ground. I'm like, oh man, some demon summoning was going on in this place. Well, sure as hell enough, as you're like in that alternate self, a demon pops out of nowhere and like grabs you by the neck and then just starts chasing you down this hall. And you're like trying to escape the demon throughout this hall and doing all these crazy things of like hiding from the demon as it's like going around, like looking for you, trying to kill you. And it's creepy, dude. Like he's just like, where are you? You hurt me so good. And like all this crazy stuff, man. So we just had a good time with that. And we're playing it at night, of course, which always adds to the ambiance of a game like this. And we're enjoying it. So we've got about 2 hours of gameplay so far. It's a 14-hour game. So I anticipate we'll probably have anywhere from like 20 to 24 videos on YouTube. And I'll have it as a separate playlist. So if anybody's interested, they can check it out there. The other game, of course, I'm playing is Alundra. I progressed in the area that I was stuck at last time, only to enter a new area where I am now stuck again with platforming. This game, I'm so over it, but I have to beat it because, well, I can't not finish a game on this podcast.
Yeah,
no, I have to beat it, Ryan. No, because then I get to your level and not finishing games, and then there's a punishment involved, and God knows what that punishment's going to be from you. No, it's not happening, Ryan. I will beat Alundra.
More Gollum.
Oh God, no, that's already on the list. After Remedium, that's our next game. So there will be gameplay of that. I'm kind of tempted to, self-punishment, self-inflicted. I'm kind of wanting to do put audio on that one so people can hear the agonizing pain of playing that game, but there might be too much cursing for YouTube on that one. So as far as Alundra's concerned, it's just really difficult platforming. I actually took to Reddit at some point because I'm like, all right, I'm kind of curious, like, what do other people have to say about this game? And so there's one person that puts out like a question, says, okay, I need, from a non-nostalgia standpoint, a review on this game. And people are like, it is extremely difficult. It's some of the most precise platforming you will ever play. It's almost by the pixel. So like when they say almost by the pixel, as in like if you looked at pixels on the screen, you would be on the last pixel to make the appropriate jump to be able to progress through stuff. So I'm in a room right now where it has spikes on the ground, water drops everywhere, and I have to platform from like brick to brick to light I forget is it braziers, I think is the name of it. Yeah, so I have to basically take these flames that are in these cups and take it to these braziers and light them up in 4 corners of a room. And the only way to do that is to hop with the fire in your hands from stone to stone while water drops down, and pixel-based platforming where one slight move and you're done, and you have to go quick as well. So I can't tell you how many times I did that particular room and failed. Like it drove me insane the other day. So I just have to turn it off. So I'll jump back into it. Hopefully, it's one of those situations where because I put the game down, I jump back in. It'll be pretty easy and straightforward. So we'll see.
Let's hope.
But it's rough, dude. Like there's like the story. I like the story for the most part, but that's another piece that people talk about. It's like it's very heavy on the platforming. The story component of the game is very bare bones. So while yes, it is a pretty decent story, it's not super in depth, and that's not what it's known for. It's known mostly because of its platforming and its difficulty, and people find that enjoyable, I guess. It's a little too much in my opinion. Like
Mm-hmm.
it makes Crash Bandicoot look like a kid's game. And there's people out there that think Crash Bandicoot's like the most difficult platforming type game out there. Nah. Alundra has like it's far harder, in my opinion. And I mean, you're talking about a game released in the same generation as well. So, yeah. All right. I'll push it over to you now.
All right. So, not a whole lot this week. I did get the Xbox Dev Mode installed on my Series S. So, that is how I am playing One Piece this week through Dolphin. It was actually really easy to set up. The thing that I got stuck on the longest was I needed to update my password, and apparently I was putting in an old password. So,
Mm.
other than that, I mean, it was like really pretty straightforward and easy to do. So, if anybody is out there looking for, another good use for an Xbox Series S, this is a good one. And then,
Came in handy this week.
yeah, exactly. And this is something I've been wanting to do for a while, so I should be able to, if you can't tell folks, I'm not feeling that great this week. Little bit on the sick side. Didn't want to contaminate John and everybody at the con this week, so just been hanging out at home. My wife has been sick as well, so we sat down on the couch together and we finished up Still Wakes the Deep. This was great. This was a really good little horror, spooky, out on an oil rig in the middle of the ocean, fighting for your life and sneaking about. It was a good time. Graphically, really good looking game. The voice actors kill it. The story is just kind of like short, but it's, got a lot in it that's very, human and driven. And you can tell that the studio really wanted to tell a specific kind of story, but also throw a lot of, very like The Thing kind of horror in here, kind of demorphing the human body kind of horror. But yeah, it was like a quick 6 hours or something like that. We beat it in like 3 or 4 sessions. Um, really like it. Definitely recommend it. Thank you, Game Pass.
You
And then
need
I've been,
to record stuff like that. If that's a short game, like throw it onto YouTube.
yeah, I know. I just, it doesn't always
Didn't think of it.
that way. Yeah.
Yeah. Got it.
So, and I think we started it, and I was just like, oh, I thought about it like the next day, and I was like, dang, I should have just done that from the beginning, and I didn't think to do it from then.
So I did that with Bramble. I think I mentioned it here on the podcast, but I did that with Bramble where I had played like 30 or 40 minutes initially and then started recording after that. And so after we beat the game, like, all right, my wife was
Back
like, all right, I'm
into it.
going to bed. I was like, okay, I'm going to start from the beginning and re-upload to like that point in the game. And so I, from a date perspective, it's kind of wonky, but
Yeah.
it's, named correctly and in a playlist in the right order.
And then other than that, I've just been crafty this week. We don't really do video on here, so you can't really tell, but I've got all kinds of like models and figures and stuff that I like to mess around with. So I finished up on a Thousand Sunny ship that I've been working on for years at this point. It's like really just been sitting there missing like the last 2 or 3 pages of doing the sales and getting everything finally put together. So I did that. Then I built a couple of Pokemon figures. I got like a Ho-Oh and a Lugia last year for Christmas or something. I like to put like little backgrounds in my little shelf area that kind of gives some dimension and makes it a little more interesting to look at. So I've just been kind of sitting around sick, upscaling my environment. I played with some Legos last week. That was fun. That's what I've been up to. John, you went to the Crit Hit Con What was it, 6?
Crit Hit 6, Spicy
Yeah.
Weather.
Tell
Yeah.
us about
By
it.
the way, I don't know if they'll be catching this episode. They probably will. I'll link it to them, but their badge is hilarious. So it's got their jackalope on the front, but what I didn't notice is that in the bottom right corner, they had a little saguaro cactus burning alive and screaming in agonizing pain as flames were surrounding it.
Yeah,
It
that's
was the
what it
best
feels
thing.
like outside.
Yeah, yeah. So I got a good laugh out of that, the whole spicy weather component. If you haven't heard our prior episodes with Jim of Crit HitCon, we've got like 3 episodes dating back into May that you can check out, where we talk with him about the event and a lot of the ins and outs of it. So you can learn more about that event outside of this overall experience that I had there. So we went for about, I'd say about 4 to 5 hours to the event yesterday, and not so much because we didn't want to be there. It's more so I'm on toddler time for stuff like that. So when it hits a certain point, it's yeah, we kind of have to go. But I had a great time, dude. So my big things when I look at an event of this size, I mean, because you can't compare it to a Game on Expo or a Phoenix Fan Fusion or anything like that, right? Or like Tucson Comic Con. Heck, even the events I ran, right? Like that was several thousand people for that type of event. So this is more of a small niche environment where you are going specifically for a tabletop experience, where you can experience, RPGs, different tabletop games. They have a gaming library. There's cosplay vendors, whole bunch of stuff, and then that game art. I think it was Artemis, is what we were told it was called, where you play in like these different battleship sections, essentially taking the role of different types of characters within those battleships. So you have like fighter and an engineer and all of that good stuff, right? I didn't get a chance to play that because when I went into the room to play it, there was a bug that crashed it. And then when I went back, it was too late. The game had already finished. So it was just one of those situations where it just didn't work out timing wise for me. But I will say that the vendors, the overall layout was nice. I liked it. It was in the atrium type setup. So you kind of had like a bar in the center, and then you had vendor tables on the interior portion with their backs to that bar. And the exterior, you had more vendors. And then there were vendors in one of the other rooms that were like tabletop type vendors that were tied to like what you could play within that space. So a few of the vendors that were there, where there was a guy that did like wood burning coasters, absolutely hilarious guy, with a lot of innuendos tied to his coasters, which were hilarious. Some of them double up as bottle openers, which was badass. There was another sketch artist that had some good stuff. Joel was with me. He bought a Ninja Turtles print. There was a number of like 3D model folks. There were people that had their own artwork. There was somebody that had like bandanas, a couple different like indie game board game folks that were there, and a few others. Like there was some good stuff. My wife obviously is very interested in getting different types of dice, so she picked up some like stone core dice, I think, or stone composite dice. So basically, it's like a resin mixed with stone to create like a really smooth feeling stone like dice. So she picked up one of those. And then she also got the smallest possible dice she could. It was a D20 keychain where you can literally crack it open, and then there's like a bunch, like a full set of dice that you could play with, and they're like itty bitty, like super small,
Okay.
like size of your pinky nail. So it was pretty cool. And then Silver Key Lounge was there, as I had noted. There was another game I think it was called PLX. It's like an RPG where it's mainly focused on story components. So we talked with them a little bit. And I also met, I forget the name of the vendor. It's like Tech something, but basically it's a guy that he started like printing his own minis, and then he's now got like licensing with different miniature creators to be able to print their stuff and put them in stores. And he's like from the ground up, like learning how to paint better and watching different videos. And he was showing me like some of his earlier pieces compared to what he's doing today. Dude, it's something to like look up to when you're doing mini painting, when you see somebody that like jumped into it with no major experience tied to it whatsoever and just like took off and is doing like great work. So I
Yeah.
was excited about that. And outside of like the main vendor hall and that particular room, there was another tabletop area where they were playing like the Power Rangers game and such, as Jim was talking to us about. Another room that was very similar, that had round tables where they were playing RPG based games. And then they had a big gaming library. So like as you go to get your badge and everything, all the games are right there stacked up. You hand them your ID, take a game. There's a big back room. I think it had like 10 or 12 tables, tons of RPGs, random board games going on. So that's where we played Abduction yesterday and played that while our kid snacked. And yeah, I mean, it was a great time. So atmosphere for me was fantastic. I really liked that environment. Very, tight knit convention with a lot of people interested in the same type of content. Didn't feel overwhelming. If you're a family and you have like a kid under, let's just say 4 or 5, it might be a little difficult to try to get the full experience like we wanted to, because you're trying to manage that child. So it's one of those where I think you kind of have to have a kid that's maybe like 6 and older, to really just kind of be able to have them sit down and not running all over the place, to be able to enjoy that, or just go on your own without a child. I think you'll get the most experience out of that too.
Just
Everybody
don't
was
have
super
kids in
well.
general. That's
Like Ryan,
good,
yeah,
solid
go that route.
advice.
Yeah, but if there's a family who wants to go, you don't want to bar them, right? So I think the atmosphere is great. Very nice people running the event. Very nice folks that were, the vendors. Everybody was super welcoming. Everybody was willing to talk. That was the cool thing about this. Like some vendors, you kind of like try to chit chat with them at different events, and they don't want to, or they're just like very business focused. A lot of these people, like they didn't care if you bought anything from their booth. They just wanted to have a good time and talk with you, which I thought was really cool. So I definitely enjoyed that. And the video game library, or not video game, the board game library was badass. Like tons and tons of stuff. Like they had a Taco Bell game. I was there. I had no idea it was a Taco Bell card game, but there is.
I love Taco.
So yeah, ridiculous amount of stuff. So from a pricing standpoint, they had weekend passes, which I think were $50 if I recall, and they had daily rates that were a little lower. And then they had like the library pass, which was like $15. Like I think any of those could have been worth it, depending on what you were looking to get out of an event. If you're looking for the full weekend to just enjoy a ton of RPGs, play the Artemis game, check out vendors and all that, which vendors were free, or just like play random board games, I thought that was fantastic. I mean, what I got out of that yesterday, I could see where I would totally have wanted to spend like 2 straight days doing that. I would have been down with that 100%.
Yeah.
So maybe that's something to look forward to next year as a group of us, just like go, and that's what we do, right? We just play some board games for a weekend.
I really wanted to go, and it's like right up the street from me, but it's like I don't
put
want
on a mask
and
go today, man.
I don't want to be pandemic.
Why don't you put on a mask and just go today?
Because I don't want to get people sick.
You would have a mask on.
Dude, like I'm touching stuff, I'm blowing my nose. Like nobody wants sick people around.
There was other people had masks on. They're just be protective.
Yeah, to be protective, but they're not like actively sick.
It's right down the road for me. Like don't even touch anything. Just walk in and peruse and then leave.
No.
That's all you gotta do.
I'll
go do, right?
I'll go next year. Crit hit 7. I got your name.
I don't know. Will it be spicier weather? Is it going to be what we told Jim? I forgot the name I gave him for next year. But yeah, I don't know. There's several names I provided. But yeah, overall, definitely enjoyed the event. I would go again. I would highly recommend it for those that are interested in tabletop gaming or just RPGs or anything of that nature in general. It was totally worth it. Like I said, lots of good art, some fun vendors, fun games that were going on, giveaways. They had a cosplay contest. I didn't get to check out the cosplay contest, but that's always a good time anyways. And yeah, it was just a bunch of people playing good games. So that was pretty cool to see that. So
yeah. Well, sticking with the theme of board games and tabletop RPGs, we've got some news this week. D&D's lead rules designer admits he changed some spells because of how painful and excruciating to cast they were in Baldur's Gate 3. This is by Harvey Randall at PC Gamer, and we're also going to talk a little bit more about another article that he wrote, but in this article, it is talking about Jeremy Crawford, and he is one of the leads over at D&D, the lead rules designer. I've listened to some podcasts and stuff with him. He's a pretty cool guy, like shepherding the franchise, but under the ownership of Hasbro now, and with the release of Baldur's Gate 3, I mean, everybody's been so into D&D. He couldn't help but, play the game and jump on board. Game of the year. Everybody loved it. And taking a closer look at some of the spells and things, deciding, you know what? We need to make some changes to some of these. So specifically, he's calling out, what is it? Cloudblade or whatever?
Oh, Cloud of Daggers.
Cloud of Daggers, and
There was a couple of them.
yeah, what was the other one? Produce Flame. So just a couple of spells that, they take too long. They don't do exactly what you want to do. They're not exactly up to snuff. And it was really exposed more when you're playing it in a tabletop RPG that's being simulated. And you can just kind of, from the outside, observe how the rules work without having to, kind of mentally come up with it yourself. So taking a look at things from another angle is certainly a good way for the team to reflect and, decide that they're going to make some changes to D&D. And D&D is no stranger to being revised. We're on the 5th edition. It's been out for a while. People want to see more different stuff. But I'm here to tell you folks, you know what? You don't have to pay for that. It's D&D. It's all pretend. Just change it if you want.
So we actually, in the car ride to Corehecon yesterday, we were having a conversation about this exactly. One of the other things that's been revealed that isn't noted in this article is a druid class. And so druids, traditionally, if you want to change into a beast, right, you have to use an action to be able to do that. Well, they're going ahead and doing away with that, and now it's a bonus action to do it. You also are limited to like 2 B shapes per long rest. You can now burn spell slots. I think it's like right away or at like later levels. To be able to have more B shapes, which are burning a spell slot. So there's that, but they had some things that they've done that are changed, right? Like you no longer can, or it's not blocked anymore to like have a swim speed, for example. So typically you choose a creature of a certain rating. So I think it's like a 1/4 rating at like level 2 in terms of the type of creature you can turn into, but you couldn't be a creature that flew and you couldn't be a creature that swam. Well, now it's just non-flying as far as I know. Also, whenever you like traditionally as a druid, you take on the HP of that particular creature. So if you're like level 2, you might have 15, 20 HP and you're like, oh, well, I'm going to choose this creature because it's sitting at like 35 or 40 HP, right? Well, they remove that. Now you keep your normal HP and then you get like a temp HP bonus equal to, I think it's your proficiency, which is dog shit at the end of the day. Like that's just stupid. It kind of takes away that benefit, but the ability to be shaped more frequently kind of offsets that in a way too. So that's one big piece that we noted. And then we were just kind of talking about, like, as you pointed out, right? Like it's all pretend, it's all rules. You don't necessarily need to do it. Theoretically, you could say, yeah, as a group, we're going to play 5th edition, or we're going to play 3.5, or we're going to play 1st edition. You don't have to play the newest edition of D&D that comes out, which is one of the beauties of D&D. This is more so rules that you can implement. So what I plan to do at my table is likely take certain things based on player preference. So if the players at the table say, hey, we really like the new druid rules, okay, cool, we're going to play 5th edition, but we'll incorporate those druid rules in particular. Or hey, we know Cloud of Daggers, this change occurred, we're going to follow X rules that are tied to Cloud of Daggers in like 5.1, I guess you can call it, or 5.2. So that's how we're going to kind of look at those rules on a case by case basis and kind of determine like what people are most comfortable with, and not necessarily dive into all of the new rules that are coming out. Because some of them are nice. Some of them are like, why'd you make the change? Right.
But John, however, will we give Hasbro and Wizards of the Coast another $180 to $240? How will
I'll tell you how,
that,
Ryan?
John?
I'll tell you how. You order for pre-access, or 2 weeks early access. So you're going to go on Hasbro's site for D&D Beyond, which they purchased a while back, which you would think would mean cheaper prices, right? For like the digital content. No, not at all. For an extra $10, I think it is, you can get 2 weeks early access to read content that's still going to take you like 2 months to prep and read through anyways. And then also pay a little fee for D&D Beyond to be able to access that content as well on a month-to-month basis. So yeah, I mean, really what it kind of comes down to is, Harvey Randall here, he says, for goodness sakes, D&D has early access periods and pre-order bonuses now, like a 3D model of a dragon for virtual tabletop that doesn't exist. So you can get like basically loot crate type stuff, right? Like, or loot, what is not loot crate?
No, this is more like,
we're talking
this is more like pre-ordering and getting a ship for a game that is still in like an alpha. Like
there you go.
That one.
There you go.
There's that big one everybody talks crap about.
I was thinking loot boxes.
Yeah.
That's what I was thinking. Not Loot Crate. So sorry, Loot Crate people. You do decent work overall. If they're still around, I don't know. But yeah, I mean, really at the end of the day, like this to me is not worth it. Like you can get a physical book, you can get like this PDF for like an extra however much money, and then also get like the early access for 2 weeks, which to me is ridiculous. Like 2 weeks early access for like a DM or a player, that doesn't like that doesn't really help you in the slightest. It's just another like nickel and dime component from Hasbro to try and get more money out of its players, which I
Yeah,
don't
they're
like.
trying to sell exclusivity, trying to make you feel like you're a part of the in crowd just because you got it early. But ultimately, at the end of the day, this is just Hasbro being greedy and overreaching and trying to come up with more stuff. I mean, it's bad enough that like you don't just get a free digital copy when you
Yeah.
buy the physical copy if you're already having to pay a monthly subscription fee to use the service anyways. And then to have like, oh, you could get like a whole like digital, all three of these books plus the physical books. You get it 2 weeks early. You get 3 extra dice sets. You get 24 extra frames for your characters. You get 10 extra backdrops compared to the other versions. And it's just like backdrops and frames and dice sets that don't really exist. Like they're all just like in the thing. Like D&D's trying to like sell you like, you've decided, you know what? You've paid all this money for the physical stuff. That's not enough. Buy it again. Buy it all
I
again. Buy it twice because we said so.
I can see why they do the like extra payment on the book. Like if you, so for example, let's just say I was exclusively like, yeah, I'm going to use D&D Beyond and that's it. And you collected books, you can say, hey John, here's my code. I'm not going to use D&D Beyond. Here's a free book. So I can see why they do that. But I totally get your point as well, because when you oftentimes do a Kickstarter or buy a physical book off of one of these other like third party websites that is D&D content, a lot of times when you buy their physical book, sometimes they'll have for an extra couple bucks like a PDF version, and that's yours to use. And there's no like it's can be shared, whatever it may be. It's not locked into like a D&D Beyond account. So I don't know. It's kind of weird how it's all set up. Now, let's just say you were ordering the book physically through D&D Beyond on your D&D Beyond account, and then you got a free book that's tied to said account. That, in my opinion, I think would be fine if it was free. Right now, if I were to purchase a book off the shelf and it came with a code, that's a little different, I think.
Yeah.
So
I also think
I mean,
$80 is a lot. Are all the books
oh
$80?
yeah, no, dude, I paid $40 for my pre-orders
I
on
mean,
alternate covers.
yeah, that's the crazy thing here. $80 a pop to pre-order these.
Yeah, there's no
That
sense
seems
in that.
ridiculous.
Like, yeah, I have my websites I go to and I pay $5 shipping, and I think the book is normally like anywhere from $38 to $40. And then of course you pay your shipping and tax. It comes out to $50 for a physical copy that now is not tied to DMD Beyond.
Yeah,
So
this is crazy.
if you're listening and you are considering the D&D Beyond purchase, my thing to you is don't do it. Like, don't support these like crooked efforts from Hasbro to nickel and dime D&D players, because all it's going to do is go down a far more negative path where we're going to see more virtual content. We're going to see less printed content, and we're really going to figure, okay, there's less overhead for us when we go on a digital basis. And people are obviously, paying for the nickel and dime content. It's how we got into the phase of video games where we are today, where you have all of these different microtransactions and things of that nature. It's because folks decide to jump in and do that, right? So if we can kind of hold at bay and not support it, I think we'll be okay long term. Which did I send you that video, by the way,
Yeah.
of, I know it's a little off topic, the first ever microtransaction, and the
Yeah.
guy like comes back from the past and he's like, don't do it. Don't purchase the microtransaction. As he does it, like he's like, no, how could you do that? And everything just goes crazy.
The dang horse armor.
No, it was horse armor. That's right. For Skyrim, I think it was.
Mm-hmm.
So it was pretty funny. Okay. So my particular article that I pulled was Nintendo is pledging action over inappropriate use of its characters, so players are not uncomfortable with those uncomfortable settings, apparently. So this is through Tom Phillips at Eurogamer. Really, what I kind of see this as, Ryan, is a crusade to end Rule 34 from Nintendo. That's what this is.
I mean, it's definitely what they are talking about here. So this was in reaction to a question that came across in that recent shareholders meeting with President Shintaro Furukawa, and they were asked, what was it? They said that they had come across cases on social media where Nintendo IP and games were used inappropriately. This inappropriate use of Nintendo's characters poses the risk of damaging the company's brand. The question continued, so what was Nintendo planning to do about it? So Nintendo doesn't like when anybody does anything, with their IP outside of their tight little grip. And, you can't grip hard enough on some of the content that they're trying to ban out here because they'll just like it that much more. The internet's a horny place, folks. And Nintendo stands no chance against this behemoth of a juggernaut that is the online
The online horny place. Yeah, that's why I cited Rule 34. Like, it's not happening, Nintendo. You can do this all you want. There will be fan content that is created, and you can chase and chase and chase, and all that they can, as far as I know, the only thing they can really do is issue cease and desist. So, okay, you're going to issue a cease and desist, and somebody's just going to make a different fan art after the fact, right?
And
so
it stays up anyways because you can't stop the internet.
You cannot scrub the internet. It is, once it's on there, it's there forever. As much as you want to try.
AI coming up, I mean, it's going to be just relentless. Like in the next 5 years, there's just going to be a tidal wave of porn, just unrelenting tidal wave of AI generated porn that will flood the earth, and we will all have to, get on a porn boat and sail amongst it and wait for it to dry out so that we can restart society, but like in a less horny way.
I think it's the most times in the episode that we've said that. Yeah, our episode's about to get flagged after what you just said.
Yeah,
so
this is just,
we'll keep it though. We'll see what happens.
This is just maybe we'll get time.
Yeah, maybe we'll get more listeners because you've mentioned porn 4 times and I've done it 1 time.
There we go. Keep it going.
The transcript will work out. Nintendo, along with what we have said already, will just equate to lots and lots of views from outside sources that we could never have imagined. But
you need to give this episode a risque title so that we can pull in the viewers.
I actually was thinking about Nintendo's Crusade to end Rule 34. That might be the title for this episode.
There we go.
I'm considering it. Yeah. Plus, I don't know if the folks at Crit Hit Con are going to like that side to where I put in plus Crit Hit Con thoughts and One Piece grand battle review. But yeah, we'll do it. We'll see how it works out. But along with Nintendo here is rest in peace Wii U, as Ryan said about driving a nail into a Wii U. I think that would kill it ultimately. I would say we got to screw it, as we said earlier. But Nintendo bids an even more final farewell to its dead console after finally running out of parts needed to fix them. And so this is Catherine Lewis at Games Radar. So, I mean, it's pretty much as the title says. Nintendo, back in, I think it was 2023, said we're going to continue to fix Wii U's until we don't have any more parts. Well, they don't have any more parts. They're not fixing them anymore, as far as we know. Now, that's to say, that you can't fix your Wii U if anything happens. You would just have to go outside of Nintendo through a third party or local, company to go ahead and repair the Wii U based on the damages that were done, whatever it may be. So, not saying that your Wii U's are dead in the water, but yeah, it's a little harder now than it was before.
Yeah,
I don't think we need to go into deeper details. Go on.
Yeah, the Wii U is going to be one of those consoles that as time goes on, with the need for the gamepad and the console both to be in good working order, and it's such a shortage of them ever being produced and put out there. I mean, if this is a console that you don't have that you want to have, I mean, I would say get it sooner rather than later, because it's probably going to be one of the harder to get and like put together a good working one and everything in the near future.
I've actually got a Wii U gamepad and an extra Wii U that I don't even remember where I got. I think I got it at like Goodwill for like $20.
Mm-hmm.
And I had been considering selling it for some time, but given this type of news, I'm like, do I want to sell it when it's in working order? Like
It'll be the only
theoretically, if
source of parts or a working console as those other parts go out.
yeah, that's why I'm like, I could just store it in my closet, for a terrible day where I learn that it's died.
Mm-hmm.
And then on the gamepad, I could always like technically swap out the shell, so I keep my Zelda shell.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, there's that. All right, let's jump into our inflation deflation. Shonen Jump's One Piece Grand Battle. God, what is that developer name? Ganbarian?
Ganbaria,
Developed by
something like that.
Ganbarian? Yeah, it's developed by them. Never heard of them. Published by Bandai. It was directed by, God, man, you've got me on these names today. Directed by Hirofumi Ide, I'm guessing his name. It was I'm like all mixed up this morning. All these names, dude. It was released in September of 2005. It is a fighting game with reception around 5 to 7 out of 10.
It's a pretty good game. It's a classic anime fighting game, but instead of being well, I guess it's more like a party kind of fighting game where it's like a third person over the top view or kind of side top view. You've got a lot of I think there's like 8 or 9 different characters. Maybe there was 10 characters actually. And it goes through like kind of the first few arcs of One Piece, features, a lot of the main crew and adversaries that they're going to fight up through Smoker, who is actually called Chaser in this version.
Actually,
And
it goes beyond Smoker. It goes up to God, I forget his name. It's the guy that has like the gold armor and the guns.
Krieg?
Up the what? Yeah, him. Yeah, it goes all the way to him.
Sanji, that's before.
Is that
Chopper,
before Smoker? That's not before Smoker. It's before Chopper.
Yeah, but they even have they have Chopper's like world and Walpole's in it and stuff. Like you have a fight like
okay, yeah, so they go beyond it.
Chopper's location, but Chopper's not like a featured fighter in this game, so maybe in the
That's
but
probably why I didn't catch it, because of that.
Yeah, this is a really good game. I had this game back when I had my original GameCube in high school, and I really liked this. I couldn't get a lot of people to play with it with me at the time because nobody really knew much about One Piece back then. Like this still has the 4Kids dub, which I have a soft spot for. John does not, apparently. But
I heard Eric Stewart's voice and I knew what I was in for.
Yeah.
And just, that Vietnam War meme where it has like the planes and stuff and helicopters in the background, like that started triggering. And just remembering Sanji's voice in the 4Kids dub, and that immediately, like the second I heard that Eric Stewart voice, I knew what we were in for. And then the rap starts, and I'm like, no, I have to hear the One Piece rap.
I love
now.
the One Piece rap.
Oh, dude, it's like the worst thing ever.
Oh, dude, it's great. It's like the DK rap. It's part of childhood.
I think I told you when I went to when we went to UwuCon and I, got drinks and such with Eric and a number of other voice actors that were there and just kind of hanging out talking. I didn't realize that like 3 of the people at the table with me were from the 4Kids dub.
Nice.
And including the original voice of Luffy. And then Eric does the Gold Roger introduction at the beginning, not Gold Roger's voice, as far as I know.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, we were talking about that, and some of the crazy things, like Sanji in that version didn't smoke cigarettes. He ate lollipops.
Yeah.
Yeah.
U.S. censorship at its finest. I love like donuts.
Yeah, they really messed it up. So I'm glad that Funimation took over.
Yeah. But it's a fun game. The characters have like a lot of different moves and stuff. Like it's fun to kind of experiment with the different attacks and see how they chain together and make different like combos that are like iconic. Luffy whipping about, Zoro doing all of his, fancy like 1,000-pound Phoenix and stuff like that. I found Nami to be like an impenetrable wall on normal mode. I tried fighting her with Sanji, and every time I went in, she just beat me down with the same counter, and then I just like could not get past her as Sanji at all.
Yeah, so I played a little bit as both Luffy, who I felt was kind of hard to control, and then Zoro, or in this game it's Zolo. So I found Zoro to be the easiest to control of the characters I played with. I also played as Arlong in Arlong Park against Creed, and Arlong was okay for the most part. But I did story mode with I did story mode with Zoro. I did grand battle with Arlon, and then I did just practice mode and such initially with Luffy to get used to it. But I had the CPU set to like normal or something on that. The CPU is actually kind of difficult in this game. Like even on easy mode, the CPU is a little like if you're not used to this game at all and how the moves work and the actual movements of your character, CPU can be kind of relentless on you even in easy mode. So like I put on hard mode at some point just to see, and it was brutal, dude. Even on just hard mode. And I'm not a very big like fighting game individual.
Yeah, this is one that, like, I mean, I really wish that we had been together to play this, just because a fighting game with two people is so much more interesting than a fighting game alone.
Yeah.
And we're both into One Piece, so it would have been fun to mess around with this. So maybe one day in the future we could revisit and play some of this together. But looking at the brass tacks here, a complete in-box copy will run you $34.46. That peaked at $42.37 back in February of 2024. It's currently trending down. A loose copy will run you $20.29. That peaked at $25.39 back in May of 2024. And that one is also trending down. I would say that this is a good game. $35 is kind of pricey for some of the games that we look at. You know, sometimes we're looking at games and it's like, this isn't even worth $10. But like, I would say that I really enjoy this game. I think that One Piece has probably some better games that have come out since. So this one might be, you know, unless there's no other One Piece games like this, then get this one. But if there's like, you know, a sequel, which I think there is in the wiki, I think it talks about One Piece Grand Adventure. So if that's basically the same thing but has even more characters and more of the story, I would just go with like a later version of the game.
Yeah, I mean, I picked up a PS4 version for like $10 or something like that, you know, a while back for the fighting game that you and I had reviewed a long time ago, or not a long time ago, but probably half a year ago. And this game in particular, I think the big thing for me and why that price point doesn't stick very well, not a ton of characters, as you noted, not a ton of stages, and then even the move sets. So when I think fighting game, I look back at games on, you know, Killer Instinct, for example, and the combos that you can unleash with that, and Mortal Kombat with your special attacks, your fatalities, and all these other things, right? Like the move sets are pretty extensive for the most part. And even if they are simplistic, it's because of the period of time in which it came out. So when you start looking at games like Tekken on PS1 and even PS2 fighting games, there's a lot more to the move sets on different characters and a wider pool of characters to choose from. So when I take that into consideration, you're not getting a whole lot for this game and or for that price point and the simplistic nature of the move sets. I mean, you're looking at 3 pages of maybe 10 different moves, and they showed a combos like AAX or like XXA, like, and it's like that chunk of like moves. And it's not a lot, right? It's like super, super simple. So if you're a fighting game aficionado and you're looking for something that's going to be, you know, maybe a little more challenging or maybe have a little more
Depth
to it, yeah, with like the move sets and like the combos and things you could do, definitely not the game for you. I think personally it's probably a little inflated because of that, just because there's not a whole lot to the game. And it's not to say it's a bad game. I thought the game was great. I enjoyed it. It was fun for somebody like me who's not big into fighting games. $20 would probably be a pretty fair ask. So yeah, I would say $20 complete. I would say it's inflated for what you're getting. But in terms of the overall game, it's not a bad game.
Yeah, exactly.
Except for the dub.
I agree
except
with
for
that.
the dubbing. Yeah. Dubbing is no.
I like the 4Kids dub.
I'd be okay if it's in Japanese. Yeah, this would have been okay in Japanese for me. But I mean, how else can you have a copy of the One Piece wrap at your fingertips at all times when it's, you know, let's just say your internet's out and you want to hear the One Piece wrap? How else are you going to do it, Ryan? You're going to pop in this
Obviously, we
version.
all have the emergency One Piece wrap vinyl.
I see. Breaking case or emergency, throw the One Piece vinyl down, and it's just repeat on 1 hour of the One Piece wrap. I got it. Yeah. Yeah. That to me, that's not inflated. That's deflated. That's a value right there. So do you have the list of what we're playing next? I think we're playing MVC2
Yep,
next.
that's next week.
Yeah, so we didn't reveal like what's actually going to be coming up. So I will pull up the list if you don't have it. Our next games that we're going to have are Marvel vs. Capcom 2 on the PS2. We're going to be playing some Mortal Kombat Deception, actually one of my favorite Mortal Kombats on the PlayStation 2. That's going to be episode 296. And then episode 297, we are going to be playing Kung Fu Chaos on the Xbox. I don't even know why I own this game, but I do. So
Chaos.
It's Chaos. It's probably got a Goodwill sticker on it. And I found it for like $2. Probably, yeah. So that's it for this week's episode. You have just finished listening to episode 294 of the Game Deflators Podcast. My name's John.
I'm Ryan.
And thanks for listening.